think is more important in business? Profit or the planet?
What do you think, Dan? Are you really asking me that question?
Yes, I am asking you that question.
Okay. Planet.
Okay, cool.
See you in your ears next week.
I think this is going to be an interesting episode because we've recently been you have been mainly focusing on our positive impact plan, which is all around this kind of topic. And I want us to dive into a bit of that today.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. I think also it's quite a relevant topic where you've got these big oil and gas companies making millions and billions in profits and destroying the planet, and so it's quite topical. But we're kind of talking it from our angle of we're still a relatively small business, like a business with 10 to 20 employees, and what we can do and that kind of thing, and what we're planning to do, and
what I thought when I was thinking of this, answering that question, what's more important, profit or the planet? My obvious answer was obviously the planet. But then I thought, well, to be able to impact the planet positively, you need to make a profit to have the funds to support the resource to then help the planet. But then I thought, well, if you just didn't have a business at all that had an impact, is that not better than having a business that you then have to do other stuff for to have a better impact on the planet? Do you know what I mean? It got me in like a bit of a weird circle.
But I think that is the reality. Like, there are a lot of businesses out there that have an overall and quite an obvious overall negative effect on everyone except the shareholders making money. And it might say you're a small business who is setting fire to plastic. That's your business, right?
What business?
You're just a guy called Brian who someone goes, I got plastic I need to get rid of, and he goes, give me 30 quid, I'll burn it, right?
What?
And so if you're Brian doing that, then you might be like, well, I don't have the money to offset my carbon footprint. I only make 30 quid for this pile of plastic. And then the answer would be, don't have that business. Wouldn't it?
It doesn't sound like a sustainable business anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, it is an interesting thing. I understand what you're saying. Like, a business has to make enough money if they want to have a positive impact, because otherwise you can't afford someone's wages to be able to have that positive impact.
But then it's like, then you start to get into the question of what's more important. So we're a business that is having some form of negative impact on the planet because of what we're doing, that we're trying to fix. But we're having a positive impact, hopefully, on our team, supporting their livelihoods, supporting them to be able to afford to buy food and shelter and all that kind of stuff. So we could just completely shut our business down and cancel all the negative impact we're having, but then that would negatively impact our team. And it's like, what's more important, our team or the planet?
Well, that's
or our local community or the planet?
But our positive impact plan, so our kind of overarching thing is that Knowlton will never have a negative... Yes, that Knowlton will not have a negative impact and have a more positive impact every day. So obviously that's quite broad. And so we are saying we don't want to have a negative impact on the planet, but we also don't want to have a negative impact on our neighbours, like next door to our studio. We don't want to have a negative impact on our employees and our local community. So I think we're not saying like, right, guys, we're spending all the money on planting trees, so you've all got to have a pay cut. Yeah, obviously that doing that side of things would actually mean, hang on, is this counterproductive? We're not going to have a team of people that can have a really positive impact on the world and our local community. So we're not saying that. So we do our plan focuses on our local community, our people, our people's families, and the planet and the world, and people we'll never meet.
I've got a question for you, and this might be a difficult one.
Yeah.
Why has it taken us almost 7 years to think about how we can have a more positive impact on than just like trying to grow our business?
So my first question, it hasn't.
Okay.
So in 2018, we moved into this place that we're in now. Upstairs, we've got all our offices, and we've got our studio down here in different rooms. We got some government funding, low case funding, I believe. And
upcycled desks and furniture.
All of our furniture was upcycled rather than buying new stuff. We put what's it called?
Insulation. Rock foam.
Insulation.
Rock
We
wool?
paid a lot more than we needed to for insulation to try and make sure that we weren't just heating the outside world and all that sort of thing. So I would say, Dan, I know we're taking much bigger steps now, and the business is bigger.
I'm playing devil's advocate, by the way.
but actually, I'd say from about 2018, we've been taking steps towards it, which is why I'm really happy. Now we're doing bigger things and things that I feel we can talk about to the world and hopefully inspire other businesses and hopefully also learn from things we're still doing wrong.
Yeah.
But I suppose we have been for a while. But before 2018, Dan, if I'm honest, I think me and you were just trying to work out how to run a business. And if I'm honest, like that is going to be... I suppose the world's changing now, so maybe if someone started a business in 2022, that might also be something they're thinking about alongside, okay, I'm starting up this business, what's my business plan?
Yeah.
But for us, it's certainly, in 2016, Dan, we didn't have one conversation about how is this going to have a positive impact on people outside of ourselves, did we? If we're honest.
Yeah. You were wearing a suit as well.
I was, to try and impress people. Because I didn't know anything.
But it's been like an exponential curve, hasn't it? From
Yeah.
in 2018, I was starting to think, having a bit more of a sustainable mindset of suppliers and things that we're fitting the office out with. And now we've actually mapped out this positive impact plan that's really focused on all of the areas that we can have a positive impact.
Exactly. And we have a positive impact crew who are now going to be meeting regularly. So we're like, right, what have we done? How has it had a positive effect on? And who has it had a positive effect on? What are we going to do in the future to keep these new actions? Because it's got to be a constant improvement. I spoke to a friend of mine recently who is setting up a whole business around this kind of like doing things in a more eco-friendly way for businesses and consumers. And I was sort of saying to him, like, what has been a real struggle is like working, like, I don't want to tell the world what we're doing and then them go, well, you're not doing this. And then us look really bad. And I think we were both saying that what's important is being honest. Like, we are definitely not perfect, without a doubt. And if I'm honest, no one ever is in anything they do. But as long as our intention's in the right place and we're taking actions every day, every week, every month to try and improve what we're doing and have a more and more positive impact, then I'm happy for us to learn along that journey and get comments like, oh, you guys are trying to do this. I did notice that Brian was burning plastic in the background of your video. How about you ask him to stop?
Yeah.
And then next week we'll go, okay, Brian, probably pack it in now, mate.
So something that really changed the way I think about this was going to the Agency Nomics event last year, where they were basically saying just offsetting your carbon isn't enough. That's basically trying to put a plaster over a problem that you've caused by not doing other things like looking for more sustainable ways of working. And I think we do offset carbon, but we're also really focusing on like choosing more sustainable suppliers and changing the way we work. And
the carbon offsetting that we do with the tree planting and the other projects that we fund through Ecologi, shout out to Ecologi, spelt with an I at the end, that's actually our last resort. So we're trying to reduce our carbon footprint and have, like we're saying, no negative effect and have a much more positive effect with everything we do. But while we're on that journey, we're also, as a last resort, so say, for example, now, we, I believe actually almost all of our employees, not everyone, sorry, drives a petrol or diesel car rather than an electric car here. Like, we're not in a position where we can fund our employees electric vehicles to get to work at the moment. So we can't, at the moment, it's not viable for us to make that change or support our employees making that change. So we will offset that carbon for now. And for every employee in our business, we offset an average human in the UK with their carbon footprint to do that. So it's that last resort. And I hope as we get further and further with our plan and do better and bigger things and learn as much as we can, our actual carbon footprint is decreasing. So then we just have a even bigger positive impact with offsetting. What I do think this is a really important point though, Dan.
go on.
I'm still talking.
No, please do.
You said like, oh, it's not enough just to offset carbon. And I want to say, I think that's quite negative, and I don't think it's always useful for people to say that. Some people are like, no, that's not good enough, and it stops people doing anything. I would say if you're doing nothing, anything is better than nothing. So don't stop taking really positive action because you're worried people are going to say you're not perfect. So don't not offset your carbon footprint if you think people are going to come to you and say, well, you're using plastic. It's better to do something than do nothing. And then you can have a journey to improve all the other bits.
Can I be devil's advocate again?
Yes.
This just sounds like you're greenwashing to try and make our agency look good to the outside world. And really, we're just burning plastic here secretly.
We don't talk about Brian. No, I think greenwashing is a really interesting topic and something that we need to talk about. A lot of these big corporations.
What is greenwashing?
There's no doubt they're greenwashing. So basically saying that you're doing things for the environment or doing things in an eco-friendly way just to make more money, but you're not really. So a big company. So say if the turnover of your company is 10 billion, you could say, we funded £100,000 of green stuff going on. We're so good. And people look at that and go, wow. 100 grand. Oh, they're really taking that seriously. When actually, when you look at their £8 billion worth of turnover, what they're doing to the planet, they're having a far bigger negative impact on the planet than that 100. That we can't afford to do £100,000 of positive stuff for the planet. But actually, our overall impact is far more positive than Nestlé's.
Something we had a discussion about this.
Or Unilever, another company, anyone.
We had a discussion about this, I think, yesterday. And something, the whole greenwashing thing, something that makes us feel very comfortable is our intent is in the right place. Like you and I both know that we genuinely want to have the biggest positive impact on our team, the wider environment, the planet. And we're not just doing this to try and look cool or good. And we're making decisions in the business that are worse for us in terms of financially and short term, because we know that in the long term, personally, I want us to have a legacy at the end of this where we don't look back and think, oh, we made loads of money, but we had a terrible impact on the environment and didn't give a shit about our employees or the local community. And
I would say, more than intent, though, I think for you not to be greenwashing, you need intent and action.
Yes, yeah, of course.
Because we can be like, if we just are thinking, God, we really want to have a good impact, but we're not actually taking action, then that's not good enough.
No.
Because you can't just go, oh, but I wanted to. So I think intent and action, because a lot of these big corporations, they don't have the intent, but they are taking some action. Like, no, we're doing this thing. But I think you need both. To really make sure you are having a positive impact and not greenwashing. But I think as long as, like, some of our actions, I know that some of our actions along our business journey will make mistakes or we'll do something that we think is having a positive impact and then we realize afterwards it doesn't. And that's where I think as long as your intent is in the right place, I don't feel bad for that. Like we're learning just like everyone, just like all the individuals about what we're doing to our planet, not just businesses. I think as long as your intentions are in the right place and you're learning from those actions, even if not every step is in the right direction, then I'm happy.
As the person who's sort of heading up our positive impact plan and positive impact ongoing project, I think it could be quite interesting to anchors who are listening thinking, oh, that sounds interesting. I want to try and do something to ensure we have more of a positive impact and less of a negative impact on the planet and the wider community. Yeah. What could they, from someone who's been implementing this and starting it, what steps could they take, even in an initial small way to start ensuring that?
Well, I think what we did to kick this off a lot of this action was driven by me initially, and then I thought actually there's not going to be enough impact if it's just me. So having a conversation with all of your employees and team and saying, right, this is now something we want to do in the business. We want to have a positive impact on the world. We want to be climate positive and carbon neutral, whatever you're aiming for. And setting up regular meetings to actually make action happen. That's something that I think is driving change for us, that we actually all sat down, we all discussed our ideas and then said, okay, well, these ones might work soon. Let's start doing those. Those ones maybe later, and let's not do those.
We have a Slack channel.
We do. We do.
Positive Impact Crew.
Yeah. And I would say, I know Dan earlier said, oh, you can't just offset your carbon, but I absolutely love Ecologi, ECOLIGI. We have a link that you can sign up with and they'll plant more trees and stuff, so we can put that somewhere, or you can ask us for it. But a first step that you can do in the next 5 minutes, you can go on there, put your number of employees and sign up for a monthly payment to fund carbon offsetting projects. So a lot of other stuff might take you time to implement. That's something you can do right now, which is why I think it's a good thing to start with potentially. And then you can, the things that take longer, you can gradually improve while you're offsetting the carbon that the negative impact you're currently having. Another thing that really helped us back in 2018 is there are a lot for businesses. There's funding out there for green initiatives and doing things in the right way. So I would just Google like funding in my local area. Like we used low case funding, which I believe is only in the south and the east of the country, and I believe was something to do with the EU. So might not be a thing anymore. Thanks, Brexit. But there are these. Like there's funding available. If you're saying, right, I'm going to spend 20 grand on insulating this building so that we're not having a negative impact in that way, you might be able to get £5,000 of it funded by a local government or one of these initiatives. So I would say look into that if you're thinking of investing in it. And it might be that you're a smaller business and you're going to spend £300, but you might be able to get funding for 150. So look into that sort of thing, definitely. And I would say, I know this is really simple, but if you just use search for hashtags or content on like whatever social media platform you use, there's groups on LinkedIn and there's hashtags on TikTok that I just follow now, and other businesses doing similar stuff to you. They're posting content that is really good inspiration. I see things a lot. Like I saw a thing where they were composting their coffee grounds and stuff, and I just thought like, well, you can definitely do that. So that's something we're actually talking about next week, of working out a process of how we can do that. So just looking for content on the social media platforms you use in this area, there's so much good stuff that can inspire you.
I also think away from the doing this because it's the right thing to do, if you need more convincing, I honestly believe that moving forward and the track record of how things are moving forward already is showing this. Consumers are becoming more aware of the impact that brands are having on the planet, and it is really impacting their decision based on how much of a positive or negative impact you have on the environment, especially like younger people now. So like commercially, it's actually also, on top of doing the right thing, I think it is going to be in businesses' interest in the future to focus more on this, because
that's interesting. There's something that we're on the waiting list at the moment, but a new thing called Ecologi Zero. So Ecologi, as I said, who we're using to help us offset our carbon footprint, have now got something that links in with your financial software, Zero in our case, and all of our suppliers, everywhere you're buying things from, all the companies that you interact with that you pay, or your clients or customers that pay you. Again, I don't have this yet. We're on the waiting list, and they're just implementing. I think they're just introducing new customers slowly, but it's going to come up saying like, "Oh, this supplier is really bad for the planet," and it might be that we look and we're like, "Oh, we're spending $8,500 a year with this company, but we can see now they're having this really bad impact with the way they're doing things," and I think from what I've read, they are then actually going to suggest alternatives that are doing much better stuff and having a more positive impact. So I think, again, like Dan was saying, do it for the right reasons and intentions of doing the right thing. But I think in the next decade or two, there's going to be huge opportunities for businesses that are doing things in the right way and do actually care and have spent the months and years to make sure they're not having a negative impact on the planet or their community.
Can I make a prediction? I reckon in the next 5 to 10 years, you know how recently at restaurants they show the number of you have to legally show the number of calories in your meals. I reckon with suppliers and companies, when on your products, they're going to have to show the impact on the planet for the products. Like we went to Nando's yesterday, and it was really interesting to having that insight into how many calories things have really changes your decision on what you're choosing. And I think visibility is going to be key in the future, because I think lots of people are making decisions, they just don't have a clue what impact it's having on the planet. Whereas if they actually knew that, and it was very visible and clear, and legally they had to show that, it would change their decisions.
Because Ecologi Zero is the first time that I saw that this is coming. Basically, there's going to be something that's going to say you've spent this much in your business with this supplier, and they are bad or good for the planet, and here's a better alternative. It's happening, and I think businesses, if you're secretly having a really negative impact on the planet with the stuff you're doing, I think it's gonna, karma's gonna come and get you in the next few years. I would say it's going to become much more obvious, and already we're seeing there's some of our clients have these green goals and things that they need to do. And why would you not want to be a business that can help them achieve that? For your own selfish reasons, as well as the reasons we've been saying about and why you should be doing it anyway. It just makes sense. And I think if you don't start taking action soon, you're going to suffer for it. That wasn't a threat, by the way.
Yeah, or else.
I will find you and I will kill you.
So do you have anything else, Lloyd, that could be interesting to companies or people listening who are looking to have more of a positive and less of a negative impact on the wider environment?
I would just say make taking action on this the norm. Like if we made the decision now to go, right, we're offsetting all of our carbon, it would have looked like this huge cost. And we're like, how can we find that within the business? But because we started it when we were smaller and we've just increased it every time we've added an employee, it's just become the norm. And I think making it the norm doesn't make it feel hard. So take action, make it the norm, and all the next steps are much easier and more natural to get into. But I and also the thing I said to you, Dan, perfection is the enemy of progress. So don't let someone on the internet or your friend or family or colleague saying you're not doing this right stop you doing anything. Take action now to improve where you are with the impact you're having on the planet, and know that it's a journey and it's going to be step by step. I think in life, this is too much of a thing of perfection stopping progress. Like, oh, I'm not going to go to the gym because I ate 3 donuts yesterday, so what's the point? It's exactly the thing of like, oh, I'm not going to offset my carbon because I threw away that plastic fork yesterday. It makes absolutely no sense and it's illogical. So don't let perfection be the enemy of progress.
One final thing I think that I've found in the business is, now that we're talking a lot more about making more sustainable decisions as a business, everyone in the team is thinking about it more and coming up with more suggestions. Like every week we're having these kind of discussions. So just making sure you're actually talking about this stuff can enable your team and other people, your colleagues, to share their ideas and help with that as well.
And Business Anchors listeners, if you have any suggestions or anything you do within your business or that you've seen that you haven't seen us talking about that you think could help us on our journey as well, please let us know. Because like I said, I think now we're talking about it more. Hopefully we're going to have more people kind of supporting us in letting us know things that we could improve on and other ideas. So come at me.
Also, just as a final shout out and thank you to Adobe Express, who are our sponsors for this podcast. We always put a link in the description for you to try their tool out. It's an amazing tool to create all of your different social assets for social media and online. And it's a really, really great tool. We've been using their products for years at our agency, and it's worth giving it a go. So thanks, Adobe Express, for sponsoring the pod.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to our green ramblings.
See you in your ears next week.
See you in your ears next week.